Hi Truvies, it is Bree. I am so happy to be back. I haven't had to sit down with you guys in such a long time, and it feels like it's just been a whirlwind. Everything's been so crazy. There's been so much going on. So I'm so happy to be able to sit down with you guys and film this video. So I wanted to start by prefacing saying if you hear anything in the background, it is my dishwasher going. And I do have my door open. Hey Ollie, you gotta chill, bro. And I do have my door open in case Raven wakes up because she's actually having a nap right now. So I want to make sure I hear her in case she needs me. So yeah, I just want to go through and talk about a labor and delivery process, how that was for me, and just share that with you guys in case you're interested or in case you are expecting or looking to have your next baby. It was very different for me because I was a first-time mom. I wasn't sure what to expect, so that's a whole process in and of itself. But before I get into the video, please go ahead and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already so you can be part of the True Bree fam. Go ahead and like the video because you know it's about to be good. And then leave a comment. I love to engage with you guys. I love to talk to you. I love to talk back. So leave a comment and we can get a good conversation started that way too. And also, if you haven't already, follow me on my Instagram, which is Being Bree TV. And then it's the same for my TikTok, which I just started. I don't even know if I'm going to be on it, to be honest, but I started that. So it's the same as my TikTok and as well as my Snapchat. So without further ado, I'm gonna get right into the video. So first things first, about 17 weeks in, I started having high blood pressure issues. And so my doctor pretty much just gave me a low dose of aspirin as well as like a tablet of like labetalol, which is low blood pressure meds. And so I started taking those. And it kind of regulated for a while, but it ended up being more of an issue later, which we'll get to. And so the labetalol was to work on high blood pressure, and then the aspirin was to prevent preeclampsia. So I started taking those meds, and they worked for a while, but then I started having like issues. So it would be like they work for a while, and then I have to increase the dose because I started having more problems. And so around about Christmas, I had planned to go home to California. And so, I mean, not to California, to Florida, and just visit my mom and my siblings and everything. But I didn't end up actually going because my doctor advised against me going, not only with COVID, but with my high blood pressure and circulation to the legs. And it was just like this whole process, and she just didn't think that it was the right thing to do. So we didn't end up going, and we stayed here, and we did like a baby moon when I was about 30, I believe it was about 32 weeks, maybe 33 weeks. And so my husband and I did that because it was close by. And then we also had our 1-year anniversary, and I did not want to miss that. I wanted to celebrate that with him because it's really important to me, and also important to him, but important to me to just kind of show him how much I appreciated him. And you know, it was our last big thing as a family of 2, so we really wanted to do that. But then after we got back from that trip, so a couple weeks later, I started having spikes in my blood pressure. It would go up, and then it would come down, but it would go up pretty high. So my doctor had me, I think it was twice a week, on Wednesdays and Saturdays, I would go and get a non-stress test to make sure that the baby was okay, that I was okay, that I wasn't contracting early because my blood pressure was high. And then once a week, I would also get an ultrasound as well to make sure that everything was developing normally, that there was enough fluid, and you know, just looking out for signs of preeclampsia. So that went on, you know, for several weeks, and my blood pressure would be a little high, but it wasn't too concerning. So fast forward about 2 weeks before I was going to give birth, I was also in the midst of planning with my church a baby shower. So that was something I was really excited about. But yeah, so fast forward the 2 weeks before I was actually getting ready to give birth, and my doctor was very concerned that my blood pressure was going up, and she was concerned about preeclampsia, and she was saying that she could see that I was kind of swelling a little bit. And I was concerned about that as well, but I was trying to basically get to 37 weeks, which is our goal, is at 37 weeks you'd be full term. So my last appointment, we had gotten to 37 weeks, so I was super excited about that. And then I had an additional appointment. So that Friday, I had an appointment with my doctor. And so at that point, I was 37 weeks, 2 days. And so she, saw that my blood pressure was really high. I believe it was like maybe like 94 over, I think maybe 160, 170. And so she was concerned, of course. And my doctor was like, hey, you need to go to labor and delivery. We need to monitor you, do blood work, and like take a urine sample, and just make sure you don't have preeclampsia. And I was like, okay, yeah. It was fine because I had to go to labor and delivery like several times before, maybe 2 or 3 times. So I just called my husband and I was like, hey, going to labor and delivery, nothing to be concerned about. You can meet me here if you'd like. So he was like, okay, of course, I'm gonna meet you. And so he met me there, and we were there pretty much all night, and they were monitoring. And finally my doctor says, okay, you're fine, you can go home, but I want you to still go to your stress test, your regular stress test on Saturday. And at that point, I'm like, okay, I need to do everything I need to do to make sure that my blood pressure stays under control. And this may sound really petty now, but my baby shower was the very next day. So my baby shower was on Saturday at 2 o'clock, and my stress test was Saturday at 11 o'clock a.m. So a couple hours difference. And I was just praying. I was like, please let me be able to have this baby shower, and let me be able to go there and have it and just have a good time, because I really wanted one. I didn't get to have an in-person one with COVID, and this one was with my church, and it was like scaled back to make sure that it was meeting all COVID regulations. It was outside, and I was just so excited. I really wanted to have it. And so as I'm at the stress test, my blood pressure was high, but it wasn't high enough to be an issue. And so the staff there contacted my doctor, let her know it was high, but it wasn't too concerning. So my doctor says, okay, go get an ultrasound. Ultrasound. And if your ultrasound is clear, we'll let you go home, and I'll see you Wednesday when you're 38 weeks, and we'll talk about induction. And at that point, I'm like, okay, great. I can go to my baby shower. Ultrasound was clear. Everything was great. But then I had my baby shower, which was fantastic. And on Sunday, so this is now the day after, we go to church, my husband and I, and a friend at church recommended this seafood restaurant that we go to. And she was saying they were having this big sale because they had just opened up from COVID, and trying to recoup sales, and it's actually called Scott's Seafood. And so my husband and I really wanted to go because that's also the same place where we got married, but the one that we got married at actually had to close because of COVID. So we were both like, yeah, this is gonna be great, let's go to Scott's. We go to Scott's, we eat lunch, and as we're leaving, I noticed that my shoes, the same shoes that I've been wearing all day, hadn't done a lot of walking, were extremely tight, like extremely tight. Oh, hold on 1 second. Let me check the baby. I think I hear her crying. So where was I? Oh yes, so we went to Scott's and we had lunch there. And as we're leaving, I'm noticing that the shoes that I was wearing were really, really tight. And so at that point, I'm thinking, my feet might be swollen. Maybe I did too much walking today. I don't know. I didn't think I did, but I really wasn't 100% sure. So at that point, I'm talking to my husband and I'm like, maybe we should just head home. I want to kind of rest a little bit. And as we get home, so I'm feeling like kind of off and my head's kind of hurting and I can kind of feel like that my blood pressure's up. And so I'm talking on the phone to my stepmom and I'm like, yeah, I'm gonna go and take a nap. And, hopefully when I wake up, my blood pressure will be down. And I think I also took like a blood pressure med as well because it was like around that time. And so I go to sleep, wake up, and I feel even worse. And so because I had high blood pressure, I had a high blood pressure machine at home. And so I checked it and it was astronomically high. It was like 2 something. And so I'm like, that can't be right. That's seizure level. I don't think it's that high. I don't feel that bad. So I called my in-laws and I just asked like, hey, can I borrow your blood pressure cuff? I really just want to check to see if it's high. And we get over there and it had gone down some, but it was still high. It was like 115/96 or something like that. So it was definitely higher than what it needs to be, and it was also like hospital high. So my doctor had told me if it goes at in that range, I think she was saying anything over 90 on the bottom number and anything over 100 on the top number, that I needed to go in. So I called my doctor, let her know, and she immediately says, go straight in, go to labor delivery, and you need to pack a bag. You might stay. And so at that point, I'm like, okay, we've done this 5 or 6 times. And so I let my parents know that, hey, I'm going to go back there. I think I packed like bare essentials. We were not prepared at all. Even though everyone had told me like, you need to pack a bag, you're 37 weeks, pack a bag. And I told them like, yeah, I'm going to pack a bag this week. But I hadn't packed anything. So my husband's like throwing everything he can into the bag. And then I'm throwing things in and I'm just like, chargers, phone, clothes, snacks. We forget all the snacks. We did get the chargers. We did get a few clothes. But yeah, so I just packed all of that in. And then once we packed those clothes, I wanted to shower. And I remember definitely thinking to myself like, hey, I want to go get a shower. Like, so I told to my husband, I was like, hey, we've packed up, I want to go take a shower. And he goes, are you crazy? He's like, your blood pressure's high, the doctor says you need to come in right away and you want to take a shower. And I was just like, yeah, I feel dirty, like I really want to get a shower just in case it's the last shower we get before I give birth. And he's like, no, that's not happening, we're leaving now. And so I just put on my shoes, headed out to labor and delivery. We got us set up with a room. Well, first they put me on the monitors and my blood pressure was high, but it was kind of going down. And they did a blood sample again and a urine sample. And it came back that the proteins from the last 2 samples, so I had a sample on Friday, then a sample on Saturday, and a sample on Sunday done. And each time the protein was raising more than it should have. And so the doctor goes, you have preeclampsia, you're almost 38 weeks. We're going to just go ahead and induce you now. We're going to get you a room set up. So they get me a room and they're asking me questions about, what my birth plan is. The nurses are. So the nurses are asking me like, what do I want, what my birth plan is. And my husband and I had already talked about like Hep B, vitamin K, the things they put on the baby's eyes when they're born, like whether or not we want to do that. We decided we did. The testing for different diseases when you have the baby, we wanted to do those. And then just kind of walking through like the actual labor and what we expected. And I always knew that I was going to get induced because my doctor had told me that. I just didn't know when. So one of the things that we looked at was, whether I wanted to be induced with the Foley balloon. And that was a hard no for me. I didn't want to do that. I wanted to try Pitocin first. 1 second. So yeah, that was a hard no for us. We wanted to do Pitocin first, and then there was like this other medicine that I'm not quite thinking of right now, but I'll put it at the bottom of the screen if I remember it. But basically, it softens your cervix and induces your labor without the Foley balloon. So I wanted to try that because I was considering trying to do as much of the labor as I could without medications. I wasn't against having an epidural, but I did want to try and see how far I could go. And I had just heard like with the Foley balloon, it's just excruciatingly painful. And I just honestly didn't want to do that. To be honest, I was afraid of the pain. And so I told my doctor that, and as she's setting up this magnesium drip, which is like magnesium sulfate, which was basically to ensure that I don't have a seizure because of the preeclampsia. I'm telling her like this is what I want, and my doctor is explaining to me that she would prefer to do the Foley balloon for various reasons. It's quicker, and that she felt like that I wouldn't be able. So I could do the Pitocin, but she didn't think that it would be like it would expand and put me into enough contractions and induce me enough to where I could give birth. And so with my blood pressure, she was worried that I would be doing the Pitocin too long, and then the magnesium sulfate could affect the baby's heartbeat. And so I was nervous about that. And then the other medication to induce labor, I couldn't do that one because I was already having many contractions because of the high blood pressure. So because my contractions had already started, I wasn't allowed to use that medication. And so I just opted to try the Pitocin and see how that would work out. So we tried the Pitocin, and we tried it for a day. So she basically was like, I'm gonna allow you to try your birth plan how you want to, but if it starts to risk your life or the baby's life, we're gonna have to have another discussion. So we tried the Pitocin for a day, and nothing happened. Nothing at all. I was on Pitocin basically from Sunday night to Monday night at around 8 o'clock, and I hadn't dilated, cervix hadn't, I wasn't aphased or anything like that. It was just as I had come in, but my blood pressure was also still very high and steadily rising. And so there was concerns that if I kept with the Pitocin and kept on the magnesium, that I would end up having to have a C-section, or it could be very dangerous for me physically to just keep waiting to have the baby. So at that point, my doctor just sat down with me and was like, hey, we tried it your way, now we have to try it my way. I recommend we do the Foley balloon. And so at that point I was like, okay, let's do it. I don't want to, but I also respected her opinion, and I respected the fact that she allowed me to do my birth plan the way I wanted to until it got to the point that it just wasn't advisable. And so, and I trust her, and we had a really good relationship throughout the entire pregnancy. So I was like, okay, let's do it. Let's do the Foley balloon. So if you don't know what a Foley balloon is, it's basically a little tiny stick about this, maybe about this wide. It's very small. It goes in your vagina, and as it goes in, it hits your cervix, and then there's air release and it has two big balls that expand about here and here, and it's designed to dilate your cervix. And usually it's gonna dilate you from 0 or wherever you are when they put it in. I was at 0, so it's gonna dilate me from 0 to 5 centimeters, and that was the goal. So it kind of like really gets your labor started. And so they put the Foley balloon in, and at that point they also gave me a dose of fentanyl. And to be quite honest, the Foley balloon was very painful. It was, the fentanyl kind of gave the edge off for about 30 minutes, but it made me sick. I had like a reaction to it, so I started like vomiting and throwing up, and just kind of feeling really queasy and nauseous. So I didn't want to take that anymore. Even though I could have gotten a few more doses, it just made me way too sick. And so I didn't want to take it. And I'm also afraid of using like hard narcotics. So that had me worried. So I was like, you know what, I'm just gonna go through, breathe through it. And so that's what I did for about 5 hours. I think they put the balloon in at 9, and I got an epidural at 1, because it was either 1 or 1:30, but it was too much for me. So I was like, okay, can I get the epidural? So they came, did the epidural, which I was worried about that as well, because it's something in your spine, but it actually didn't hurt. And I had heard like, you'd have back problems when you're done. As of yet, I don't have any back problems, no back pain or anything afterwards. But they put the epidural in, and then I went to sleep because I wanted to be ready for pushing. And so I was asleep. My doctor came in and woke me up at about 4:30, and they checked me, and she said, hey, you're 5 centimeters. We're gonna take actually no, it was around 4:30. She said, you're 5 centimeters, I'm gonna take this out. So she took it out around 5, and then she says to me, we're just gonna wait it out, we're gonna see, and you're gonna start to feel pressure, like you have to poop, and that's how you know that you need to start to push. And so I was like, okay. And she goes, you'll have your baby by lunch. So I'm thinking, when am I gonna need to push? So I asked her, like, what's the roundabout for pushing? And she says, we'll probably have to go around 8 to start pushing. And I was like, okay, 8 o'clock. That's, that's great. We'll wait till 8. So around 6, I think it's maybe like 5:30. I started feeling like I had to push, and the nurse was coming in to check on me, and I told her like, hey, I feel like I have to push. And she says to me like, oh, I'm not sure that, this is your first time. Are you sure that's what you feel? And I was like, yeah, I feel that. And so as I'm kind of having this argument a little bit with the nurse, my doctor comes in and she says, let me check you out. Let me see. And she goes, oh, you're 10 centimeters dilated, 100% phased. It's time to push. And so at that point, I look at the other nurse like, I told you that. Like, you wasted like 10 minutes of my time. I know what it felt like to have to push. And so we set that up, and we get that whole process going. And she's directing me, telling me like, oh, the best way is to push and everything. And so I pushed for about, I don't even think it was a good hour, but at 6:18, I had Raven. So, and that's also my baby girl's name. I don't know if I told you guys that, but her name is Raven. So at 6:15, she came out, and she was exactly 7 pounds, so beautiful. And yeah, so as soon as we did that, they, left her on my chest. We did delayed cord clamping, and then my husband cut it afterwards. And so she was like a ball of lungs, screaming her little heart out. And then they went ahead and did all the vaccines and pretty much everything that we had talked about in our birth plan. Wiped her down, wrapped her up, and gave her to us. And I'll insert some pictures either here or here of that day. But yeah, we were so excited. And so after that process, maybe like 8:30, they sent us downstairs to recovery, and I was still connected to the magnesium drip because of the preeclampsia. And so they were keeping an eye on that, and I wasn't allowed to shower, so I did not shower at all. And at this point, it's now Tuesday morning, so they said I couldn't shower because my blood pressure was too high, and they didn't want me to pass out in the shower. And so that whole day, they're checking my blood pressure, giving me meds, trying to get me regulated back from preeclampsia. And then on Wednesday afternoon, they finally let me shower, but it was timed. So it was only 10 minutes, and I had to have the door open, and my husband had to be next to the door and with the button to call the nurse in case I fell. And so that was also kind of like, it was scary, but it was also like good to have everyone there. And then so I showered really quickly, and then got out and was able to actually like put on something, because that whole time I was pretty much wearing different hospital gowns. And once that happened, yeah, we were pretty much getting like my blood pressure under control, and I was finally able to get checked out on Thursday. So I left the hospital Thursday afternoon and we came home with our little girl. So yeah, I'm gonna show you guys her really quickly. So as of today's date, it is now June 2nd. So Raven was born March 30th of 2021. So she is now a little over 2 months old. She is the light of me and her dad's life. Bro, the little doggy, is still getting used to her. But yeah, so I will show you guys her so that way you can see our little bundle. And yeah, we're just so blessed to have her. So happy that, you know, it could have been more complications, but we didn't have that. It didn't happen. And so we are blessed beyond measure. All right, I'm gonna show you guys in 1 second. Okay guys, so she is kind of groggy and we're just waking up. Hi mommy, hi. She's smiling. So she's just waking up. So I'm gonna show you guys her really quickly, get her changed and everything. And yeah, so give me just 1 second. Hi. Hi, how was your nap? Hi, sweetie. So this, oh. So this is Ravy. She's our little gift. Say hi, sweetie. Hi. Yeah, this is Raven. Her name, so her full name is Raven Noel Spears. Yeah. But let me see, I'm gonna adjust it a little bit. But yeah, so this is her. This is Raven Noel Spears, our little girl. And she's so cute. Yeah. But we are both completely obsessed with her. Daddy is like so happy to be able to have his two favorite girls. And of course, who doesn't want a little mini? But yeah, we're having a sweet little girl. But all right guys, I have to go get her changed and get her ready for the rest of the day. We're gonna actually have a little play date with, oh, you just farted. We're gonna have a little play date with some friends. So I'm gonna let you guys go, get her changed, get her fed, and get her ready. So once again guys, thanks for watching. As always, be true to you. And if you haven't already, please go ahead and subscribe to the channel and hit the bell notification so you never miss an upload from us. See ya. Bye.